Hey everybody, Rhadamant here. Thanks for tuning in to Frost and Fire. Last episode, we did a sizable redesign of the base, adding some additional grow zones and a hospital and research room. It was quite a lot of work, but here we are. We are a little bit low on steel, but before I get any further into this episode, I want to go over some feedback I received from all of you. So Orange Chaos reminds me that I have some fortified zone on the other side of the wall out here, which could be dangerous, and I should fix that. And then Orange Chaos and Christopher both mentioned, and this is something I'd intended to do, but double insulate my hospital. I intended to do it because, as you can see, the raw resources zone did not overlap that wall. It was something I was going to do anyway, but I'll give credit where credit is due. This episode, we are definitely going to have to build the monument that I enlisted my people to build. So that will be this little monument marker, and we're going to be placing it right up here where our last monument was. There was a question of, can you have your monuments overlapped? And yes, you can have them overlap a bit. You can have them share walls with previous monuments, and you can have them share floors with previous monuments, but the requirements may change. Some monuments, for instance, will require you to have tiled walls and some flagstone walls. So for that reason, a lot of the times I tend to rip down my monuments fully before constructing the next ones. So I'm putting a temporary zone of steel up here so that we have steel where the monuments are going to be constructed, and I do hope that the psychic neuroformer that we obtain is good for Hippie. Another thing I wanted to do is to set Phoenix up to start being a second farmer. We really can't fully rely on Gabe to do the farming all by himself, and we shouldn't rely on Gabe doing the mining himself. Gabe has been our sole miner, but at this point, it might be worth training up JD a little bit in mining as well. Now, JD does have to do a lot of crafting, which is a bit of an issue because, of course, you know, you can't have their crafter running around mining all the time. I mean, it takes a lot of work, but we'll have him be allowed to mine at the very least. And I can set that to 3 so that he smiths and constructs first and then mines afterwards. I'm definitely going to be rejecting this quest as the rewards just simply don't warrant the cost. And because we don't really need more components for the camp loot, it just doesn't make sense to do these missions. Now at this point, the ambient temperature is warm enough that I could probably shut off all of my heaters in the base, as it's not likely to get cold anymore. I mean, we're late in that season now, right? So here we are, flicking the lights in the heaters. And soon we'll have to remember to turn on more coolers as it warms up. So here is the double insulated hospital. We're gonna have to do considerable slagging and mining and the like to try to get back the amount of steel that we used up. But I am up for the task. I'm just moving around some lights here so that the areas are better lit. Because better lit areas allow you to move a little bit faster. Now, if you take a look at our crab chitin, we definitely have enough for some additional pieces of clothing. So that's another thing I'm going to queue up. I'm going to queue up, it was 180? Yeah, 180. And I think the crabs have, 2/3 wool growth, and wherever cauterize is... Where is cauterize? Cauterize is 56%, so just over half. Let's do 2 more dusters out of the crab chitin, and that leaves us 20 cloth left, which is not, I don't think, enough for a cowboy hat. A bowler hat, perhaps, but cowboy hats are more insulating, so I'm not going to bother with that. This steel shelf is going to be repurposed And here comes the bulk goods trader I called in. So this steel shelf is going to go into the hospital here. There was a question on the YouTube comments about, wouldn't it make sense to store my medicine on a shelf? Yes. Shelves are only really useful to hide the ugliness that the items would otherwise produce. So as you can see here, this medicine is a -4. On a shelf, it would be a net 0. Now, given that information, that doesn't necessarily make it a good argument for a shelf, because if you don't care about the impressiveness or beauty of a room, who cares? But in my case, I am also going to have other things on this shelf as well. I'm going to have the glitter world as well, so that will help. I'm going to have Raptor. Oh, yeah, these guys are getting further and further away from my home base. They're going to the other beacon. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of the trade here. Taking a look, you can see that they do have meats for sale. I don't really think I'm going to be in the mood to buy meat. I will sell my my crab eggs, though. What do we really need? We need to... It is a good question. Get rid of some toques that are shredded. A shock lance or insanity lance wouldn't be terrible. Insanity lance maybe a little bit stronger than a shock lance. A little bit more expensive too, but it's worth the cost. And then what I think I'm going to do is sell off some of the drugs I have, just to be able to front or cover the cost of the trade here. Because they have some silver that I might want to capitalize on. So I'm leaving myself some material here. But keep in mind that a lot of the material that we can grow, for instance, rice and cloth that we are able to grow, is easily renewable. And as such, I can sell it and just replenish it when we need it. Okay, that looks good. And here's the lance. I'm gonna have Raptor hold on to that lance. Now, those lances aren't going to be all that helpful in killing Reapers, because they're sort of immune. But for everything else, it will be helpful. And one of those traders has a relationship to what? Phoenix? No, father of Gabe. Okay, and Gabe's father's name is Rubber. Okay, sure. Whatever. Whatever you say. All right, so here's the crab chitin dusters and now cargo pods of uranium. Little sketchy that uranium would fall from the sky, but sure. So now this blueprint here, we are going to set up for steel. So let's create it all, and I'm going to build the doors last so that we can traverse the area a little bit more quickly. This will be a very, very quick monument to build, I think. Should not be too much trouble. Now that we've shredded all the mechs, I can turn off these benches. I'm going to also turn off the slag smelting so that Hippie can use her time more wisely. Cleaning animal filth, apparently. I don't know if that's more wisely. Now, the gorillas here, their temperature is good until about 185, which is about the upper limit of everybody else in my colony. The heat stroke is far less of an issue for us than hypothermia. Hypothermia, of course, takes your toes and fingers and nose and ears and is more debilitating than heat stroke. So I'm not so scared of the summers as I am the winters. The summers are a lot more tame in comparison. They're still nasty, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, but they're not quite as bad. But soon we should probably see these guys leave because it is getting hot. And I don't think they're going to stick around for too long. I want to move this door over one tile like this so that if we do have to call down another salvo, we have a better line of sight, as this is from this door, it is a straight shot salvo to this area. And I would trim the mountains here a little bit more, but I think it's probably more essential for Gabe to be replenishing our steel amount, because we are definitely lower on steel than I wish to be. We have only about 191 in storage. This monument is all but done, so let's allow the doors and the walls that are left. I'm going to conscript or draft and undraft Bash and JD and Phoenix to see if they would finish it up. And then another thing we're going to want to do, just like we did with the last one, is to leave the doors open so that if any pod droppers drop in here, they aren't stuck, and as a result won't destroy any of the facility. So as we start to amass steel, which hasn't happened yet, but when we do, we'll be investing it in hydroponic basins and then allowing Phoenix to maybe temporarily take over the farming in order to build his skill. He does have a passion in plants. He's not going to be able to plant all things like psychoid or hops because they require a little bit more skill, but he will be able to mass plant rice for us, which is something. It's not much, but it's something. All right, so the machinists are leaving. That bulk goods trade was a little underwhelming, if you ask me. But there we go. The pods have arrived. Now, if this monument gets damaged in any way, a really dangerous mech cluster will land. So that's probably something we want to avoid. And the neuroformer here is going to be used for Hippie. And with any luck, she gets a good side focus. Words of... Okay. All right, game. All right. I get you. You're never going to give me a good side focus. Well, it's possible that I'll be able to trade exotic goods for side trainers. It would be more ideal if I called in the United Cities, because of course they are the psychics, or they tend to be, you know, because they're the Fallen Empire. That would be the better trade partner for this kind of stuff, but I don't really have a good relationship with them. So that's another thing I could work on. Another thing that I could do in this farm is grow a ridiculous amount of cotton in order to make clothing for sale, like dusters that have good resale value based upon their cost. Or art. That's another one. Because if I got enough steel beyond building this farm here, Hippie would be able to invest that steel in constructing art for sale, or to improve my reputation too. Either or, I don't really care one way or another. I know I need the reputation. Taking a look at all these turrets, a lot of them need a little bit of rearming, so it's going to be important for us to give all of our guys a moment to haul in the steel. The animals still are on... They're not on priority hauling. They're just on normal hauling. We'll just keep mining up the steel until we have a surplus. Here, Phoenix is practicing his plant skill. And we just researched marine armor. So marine armor is going to allow us to start to make marine helmets. Marine helmets here have... It's not so much about the cold insulation or heat insulation, it's more about the protection, but they're not bad. And then we'll also get healing factors. That will be especially useful for our brawlers who do tend to get injured often. So the first piece of marine armor that I want to do is a prestige helmet for Raptor. Because he is in a low coronet, and this coronet offers no temperature protection whatsoever. It does offer social impact, and the advantages of social impact is it allows him to give better throne speeches. So I still probably want to have a coronet for him to throw on during the throne speeches. But as you can see, this coronet here is about to be tattered. I don't really know how a metal crown becomes tattered. That doesn't seem all that reasonable, because I mean, I think if I was in charge of the code base of RimWorld, I would have clothing that doesn't offer protection not get destroyed, because if it can't offer you protection, it means hypothetically it can't be shot at. Now, to be fair, if you were wearing a coronet in real life and it got shot at, yeah, it would get damaged. But in this game, if it isn't offering you armor, shouldn't it not be able to be shot? I don't know. There's an argument to be made there either way. But I do think that wearing out a steel coronet in a year or two seems a little bit ridiculous. Helmets, yeah, I could see that. But coronet? Really? End rant. So my pets are hauling in the slag. I think what I might do is shrink this slag zone so that there's only so much slag they haul in, so that they haul in steel instead. Because, of course, steel is a more resource-dense item than slag. You know, one slag yields some steel, but if they were hauling in a stack of steel, which is what Gabe seems to be mining up here, that would be just a lot more bang for my buck per load. The words of love I got, let's see who could use that. So, use that on yourself towards Gabe. Basically, I want to use it because she has Psi Focus right now. And, oh, that's already with Psychic Love? Jeez, you really hate him. But she doesn't have any good Psi cast, so there's no point in not using Words of Love if I could have used it, because the Psi Focus does decay every day. It does remind me that I really do need to buy some Psi casts, because my Psi casts are just terrible. They're just terrible. And we have a heat wave, so that's going to be spicy. All of my coolers are getting flicked on. Now, we're not in the middle of the summer, so this heat wave might not be as terrible as you would think, but it's definitely going to heat things up, unfortunately, given that we are heading into a summer. I don't need these on, though. I don't think. I'll just have to keep an eye on it. All right, how is my steel doing? I've got about 280 of it stored here. And then I've got benches with a bunch of other steel. Oh, we did have a fire. Put that tree out. Another thing Gabe needs to work on once he's done mining a whole bunch is getting some more gold, because we are just about out of gold, and without deep drilling it, we're going to be stuck. So that means turning on my deep drill once he's done with the terrestrial steel. And I'm going to sort of poke and prompt him to do that now. So our slag is full. Every time the slag goes full, I will turn on the smelter and let them smelt. And I'm going to start adding benches here now too. So there's the dusters. We have a brand new good dust, two brand new good dusters to protect us from the heat. And the Prestige Marine helmet here needs gold, so we're not even going to be able to start on this Prestige helmet until we get a little bit more gold. So let's see about regular Marine helmets, and this would be for everybody else, which is Plasteel and Advanced Components. So we need 5 of these. And I'll make them with JD. And this will be made with JD as well. And then I should also get to the Summer Shooter and Brawlers and allow such headgear. So Summer Shooters are going to allow Marine helmets. Summer Brawlers are going to allow Marine helmets. And then Royal is going to allow, and it's already done, but allow the Cataphract. The Prestige Marine helmet, rather, not Cataphract. So in these benches, I think what I'm going to do is actually plant cotton. And that means I need to turn on my light. And the cotton is going to allow me to make things that are worth selling. Now, I could also have I could have gone the route of selling drugs, which is profitable. Drugs won't level up my crafting skill though, whereas cotton will. Or I could have gone, well, yeah, it's basically drugs, food, or clothing. That's what you get out of these benches. All right, Gabe, where are you working? One more node of compacted steel in here. There's definitely a lot more steel left on this map, though, and then there is a huge mountain that I live next to, so I could dig into this mountain and figure out if there's steel hiding in there as well. I'm sure there is. And Hippie got a shoot frenzy. Fortunately, it looks to me like Gabe is getting most of the growing done. So I'm going to reduce Phoenix's priority for construction to allow him to spend more time growing. Also, Hippie, you can reduce your craft because you don't... No skills other than like basic patient and firefight should be 1 anyway. It's sloppy, being honest. Still, some of these turrets look like they could use some barrel durability, but most of those turrets are going to survive at least 1 fight without it. And let's check on heat wave. These coolers are set for 26. Yeah, so far this heat wave is being repelled. Well, not repelled, but the inside temperatures in our base are fine. They're comfortable. All of these should be set for, I think, 63 or 60 is what we did? Sure. A little bit colder. Let's turn more on. More on. Let's turn more of them on. And let's go all in with the benches. We have about 1,200 steel stored, and there was, how many benches were there? About 2,000 steel worth of benches to throw down. JD is wearing the first Marine helmet. Guess he's entitled to that. And if you take a look at his temperature difference, 145 versus... So the chitin hats give about 30 protection, and these helmets give like 8 or 4. So we do lose a lot of heat insulation wearing them. But for someone like JD, who's likely to sit on this bench for the near foreseeable future, it's not that much of an issue, I'd like to think. I may have to take Gabe off of, well, one of the best ways to grind growing experience is to just grow a whole bunch of rice, because rice has the shortest growing period, which means you spend the most time mining it, or not mining it, harvesting it. So if we do want Phoenix to level up on rice, it might be wise to have one farm for basically Phoenix to practice farming in, consisted of all rice crop. So that might be something I end up doing here shortly. It really depends on his rate of skill advance. I haven't really seen evidence that Gabe has done much mining, though. So that might be something we have to focus on. Guess there's still some steel out there. So the impressive construction, 41 days, so 38 more days of protection. It's kind of a long time. All right, now he's digging back to steel. And a combat supplier flying overhead. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have him mine over, grow, and plant cut to give Phoenix some time to work on his own skill. I do not believe that there is a single item in my entire base that I want to sell to a combat supplier. It's possible I want to buy things from one, but there's nothing to sell. That I can say for sure. My sniper rifles I want to keep. They have another Doomsday launcher, but I think I'm going to hold on to my money. Yeah, I'm going to hold on to my money. So this shelf here was moved to contain medicine and GlurWorld meds. So I'm going to put the GlurWorld meds there first, because we have enough medicine to fill 2 stacks, and I'd rather have GlurWorld medicine sitting there in cases of dire emergencies. And now, put medicine. Oh, for the medicine manufacturing, yeah, dropping on the floor is totally fine. There we go. I'm going to unforbid this door to see if people pass through here too often. We'll know if they do, because it will get filthy quickly. Something tells me it should be fine, but if I'm wrong, we'll have the ability to forbid one of those doors and prevent it from becoming a hallway. I don't know why Gabe started to, well, who knows? Guess what I'm trying to say is I'm not really sure why Gabe started to plant, because there is mining jobs to be done, and mining is his priority. And the psychoid plants are now blighted. Okay, well. Here, Phoenix. Go quickly. Another one of the reasons, and I answered this in the YouTube comments, is why do I keep my 2 farms separate? It's because if I didn't, blights like this one would be a lot more dangerous. If you... Let me prioritize plant cut. If you put all of your eggs in one basket, all your eggs can be broken at once. So in physically separating out my farms, one blight in one farm can't easily travel to another. Whereas if I didn't set it up this way, it would be very, very easy for me to have all my crops get blighted all at once. And the way blights work is it will target a certain type of plant. In this case, it was psychoid, and then spread from there. Oh, I guess Gabe is helping. Why are you helping, though? Let's take a look. Oh, yeah, let's increase your mining priority. There we are. I thought I had done that, but apparently not. And you started off at level 2. You're already level 3, pushing 4. So it has been somewhat quick skill gain, which is good. But everybody watching probably still knows I am in dire need of more steel because one big fight and I will not be able to reload, which then will quickly become fatal, right? If I can't rely on my turrets because they're out of ammo, I'm sort of done for. So we're working on our second helmet. So here, or third helmet. Here's our second helmet down here. And Hippie picked it up. Get a little bit of a break risk, so let's see what that's about. Gabe ate without a table, and Phoenix hadn't gotten his recreation fulfilled, which is strange considering, well, let's fix this. I was going to say strange considering this anything work is time for recreation as well. There's no sort of concept that it's work only. You can recreate midday and that's fine. I've scheduled it in. Once I have a healthy amount of steel surplus in order to be able to defend myself and the like, I will then make these heaters for the winter. But I really do want my stockpiles replenished so that I can rearm quickly. And some of these I'm just going to force rearm. There's a threshold to meet that until you meet it, you know, you won't rearm it. But I feel like some of these turrets are important enough that even if I don't hit that threshold, I want to force rearm it anyway. But what I'm saying is, economically, it doesn't actually make much sense to rearm if it's only a few points missing because it costs more. It's not proportional exactly. So if you are rearming barely spent turrets, you'll spend more rearming them than you should, is what I'm trying to say. But all of these that were at half, the threshold has been met in my eyes. Because otherwise, I'm just leaving myself open to vulnerabilities. So we've got healing factors researched. I will continue back to crypto sleep caskets, unless I see anything else that... Wake up and go juice wouldn't be a terrible thing to own the ability to make, and also lung blades. Bash's weapon here is not, it's good, but it's not amazing. The excellent plasma, so the fire swords aren't really all that effective against reapers, which is why I would consider replacing it with some better weapon that I make out of like plasteel, let's say. It'd be really cool if I had access to, you know, more artifact weapons. Like a Zeus hammer would be great, but I've not had such luck finding anything like that. You'll see a lot of botching from Phoenix. But I do have a pretty healthy surplus of rice right now. So even if he does botch a lot, and he's botching just due to a lack of plant skill, it shouldn't be a problem. And Bash is now in a helmet. So we have one more helmet yet to make for our marine helmet Q. And then we'll be off to the Prestige. In order to do Prestige, we are going to need to have Gabe get more gold. Which means taking him off of steel for a bit. And we're also heading into a temperature which I need to respect. It might be necessary to take off all the marine helmets, only put them on for combat situations. The worry with that is sometimes it takes a little bit of time in order to get your helmets on or physically get to where the helmets are stored or whatever. So it's not always the best idea to take off your armor and then expect to be able to put it on in a battle situation, because especially torso armor takes a very, very, very long time to throw on. You know, often you're not actually going to have the time required to do it. So I think at this point my turrets are rearmed enough that I feel safe. Maybe not fully, but enough. Plant skill 4. So once we're done with this last marine helmet for Phoenix, we'll get to using up some of this cloth in order to make clothing for sale. Now, I haven't really had any sicknesses that have been all that severe. The rate of sickness on this map tile is really low. It's sort of a mechanoid steel. So penoxycycline or whatever it's called, probably not that high of a priority, but Wake Up would be good. Wake Up and Go Juice production might be useful to have knowledge. At this point, other than heading for the late game Starflight stuff, everything else is sort of gravy. Now for the bionic replacements, that's the last of the helmets. For the bionic replacements, we also could think about things like bionic hearts or stomachs for our guys, so they have slightly more efficient body parts, but also coagulators and healing enhancers for our brawlers at the very, very, very least, so that if they do get brawled, they have ways to survive longer. Healing enhancers shortens your recovery time, and coagulators lowers your bleed rate so that you won't bleed out as fast. Two very essential things to have on people that get commonly injured. Slowly turning my guys into a bit of a Wolverine. Not immortal like Wolverine, but some healing factor. Another thing to note is the sharp protection increase as a result of these helmets are pretty good. The excellent helmets, for instance, have a sharp of 138, which will protect incoming bullets from being able to do brain damage or other, organ damage to the face, nose, eyes, etc. Gabe is starting to get hyper, or I was going to call it hyperthermic, which is technically true, but heat stroke. Gabe might be the only one that we want to take off of helmets in order to give him a hat, because he does spend probably more time than anyone else outdoors. So I'm going to force wear a cowboy hat with him in order to keep him cooler when he's doing his outdoor mining for long periods of time. Now that I have a little bit more steel, other useful projects for me would be anti-sapping turrets in the south. So putting one maybe here to cover this wall, here as well, and this area there. And because I don't want them just to be ornamental, giving them... They all have close enough proximity to the... Oh, you know what? I'm going to move this one down one. They all have close enough proximity to power in order to turn on when they need to turn on. And I'll also need one here as well. Bunch of anti-sapper. So this area back here is covered as well, but it wouldn't hurt to have a second turret, especially given that most of our valuables are stored in this room. And this turret actually should be nudged over once so it doesn't have any line of sight issues. So I'll put it right there. And that way, if anyone's physically attacking... Yeah, let me move these down one so that they can cover one another more effectively. So it's a little pricey because these turrets that I'm making now may never see battle, but they do deter. And deterrence, in my opinion, are often worth it. All right, wake up production is done. Let's get the go juice production and psychite refining. You can't really make go juice or wake. Well, you can't make go juice without psychite refining. Gabe, what are you working at? You are continue to mine. He's like, all right, I'm gonna go for a beer. No, you're not. We're in peak summer right now. I think my animals are holding up pretty okay. So I'm not going to restrict them just yet. But I will keep an eye on everybody for signs of heat stroke. Because if they do start heat stroking, I can always order them inside for their own protection. Oh, and look at that cotton. So let's do something like this. Dusters forever made of cloth. JD is replenishing our advanced components after making all those helmets. But the cloth dusters are going to allow us to sell or gift for relationship because we still want a better relationship with the United Cities. Our relationship with them has strained as a result of some quest failure conditions and stuff like that. And I don't want to stay lukewarm with them, teeter-tottering on hostilities, because one of the requirements of this series, one of the community challenges, is to stay allied with everybody. So I would, in my own eyes, fail my own challenge if I went hostile with United Cities. So let's not do that. It's also very much the reason why I've been asked in the past, hey, why didn't you keep them as why didn't you keep like a prisoner as a slave or whatever, or like a guest or whatever? Well, you know, because if you imprison your guests, that's also reason for hostilities. So Rartranka, for instance, which was Raptor's lover, ex-lover, because she's dead. I couldn't have just imprisoned her to keep her, because then that would have made me hostile with the faction that she belonged to, which would then be a failure condition for the series. And yeah, that's not what we're hoping to do. Let's make the healing enhancers before the coagulators. I think healing enhancers are a little bit more important. I tend not to lose characters due to bleed out, but having them recover faster is great. So the healing enhancers work in conjunction with hospital beds. If you can't have a hospital bed, like let's say you're a raider or something, they'll still be very, very useful. But combine those hospital bed plus healing enhancer, and you will recover very, very quickly from combat, which is awesome. So now let's get go juice. So the reason I did that is wake up here, if you're wondering, is just Neurotrained. It's straight Neurotrained, but go juice will require me to make psychite processing. So I'm gonna have 8 wake up at least one for everybody in case of emergencies or whatever. Or 7, rather. I can count. But still, more than 6, which matters. Now, drugs like Wake Up and Go Juice can be addictive on their first use, which is dangerous. Safe dose interval is the stat that is going to read that. So if you check at the safe dose interval of Psych IT, for instance, it's going to say, for an average adult with average metabolism, a safe dose interval of every 2 days is fine, which is exactly why my scheduled drugs, I have Psych IT. Actually, I have Psych IT every 3 days, so I can bump that down to 2 days. And then beer, safe dose interval every 1 day. So if I go to my scheduled drugs, I can reduce beer every 1 day. And then smoke leaf every 2 days. So I could reduce this down to every 2 days. I usually keep it a little bit longer than the safe dose interval because there are cases where there's cases where their moods are wavering and you might need to take some extra. So that's why I tend to have it be a little bit longer than the safe dose interval. Also because characters that are under 18 have a different metabolism and they get addicted to drugs more easily. Metabolism is, and you'll be able to tell. Anyone that's young, you'll see that their food meter is actually out of 0.8, not 1. As you can see up here, like everybody here is old enough to have a full meter. But sometimes when you do the bare minimum of safe dose interval, your minors in your community will become addicted to drugs because it's a safe dose interval for someone with a adult body size and metabolism, which anyone under 18 in this game does not have. Just wanted to point that out. So once Gabe is done with a little bit more steel mining, I'm probably going to cancel this node. I will have him go over to gold so that we can make that massive prestige helmet and also make some more advanced components. But I'm out of time. Very strange to have a peaceful episode, but we're far better armored than we started off. We have an entire farm going, and we're training a second farmer. If you have any feedback for me, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so very, very much for watching. I'll catch you next episode. Farewell.